Here is a really vintage General Electric clock radio. Definitely looks 1960s to me, but unfortunately the label is rubbed off and I don't know what the model number is, so if anybody can identify it, I appreciate it. This, of course, is not factory. I'm going to talk about it right now. When I was a kid, the temple used to have a garage sale or a yard sale with the proceeds going to the temple. Sort of like what a church would do with some sort of fund drive or something. It was the same kind of idea. And basically they invited all the Jews to bring their old junk. And I think I got this when I was about 13 years old. So we're looking at 28 years ago. I got this 28 years ago. And when I was 13 years old, it was 1991. There was a lot of stuff being dropped off by the Jews that still had vacuum tubes. This was one of those items. Now, it might have had, it was there for sale. Whether it worked or not, you don't know. You just took it on faith that it's Jewish. Why wouldn't it work? So, I don't know. Anyways, this was there. Now, of course, I didn't pay for this. Why? Because Jewish. So I waited until the fund drive was over, and they just put everything right out to the curb, including this. And then the garbage picker Jews and scrap metal artists and whatever else would come out of the woodwork and pick through it. Got a bunch of stuff from there. Some an old stereo, and some other stuff. But I got this thing, and it did not have a knob on it. So the best I came up with at 13 years old was a plastic soda bottle cap, which is certainly a lot more nicely formed than the ones today. It has a blue plastic or rubbery insert to actually cap the bottle and keep the carbonation in. Standard analog clock, of course, with the sweep second hand. That's your alarm time right there. And of course, on the right, you have the AM dial, because it's AM only. And I always thought it was cool about the 5 with a little 5, so that would be like 550. And the 6 has a dot or something, and the 11 has a dot between 11 and 14. And this is your volume control. I had last tried this thing, we're going to say close to 13 or 14 years ago. This obviously has vacuum tubes. Don't know if the dial lights, don't remember. It might. It's broken. This was how I got it, with the broken plastic there and there. So maybe it took a fall off a table a few times. Turning it around back, unfortunately, like I said, that label is gone. But we do have a label here that says Bucks, 104 Hempstead Turnpike, West Hempstead, IV3-9559. For all of you millennials out there, for all of you Gen Zs out there, for you Gen Alphas out there, that is a telephone number. That's correct. Telephone numbers used to have letters when dinosaurs roared the earth and all that great shit. When I was throwing rocks at dinosaurs, we'll put it that way. This obviously is vacuum tube, but it does have a date, 11/21/69. I can only imagine that this is a repair sticker for this. Now, vacuum tube based devices often would have tubes that would burn out, and there were a few ways to go about it as far as fixing it. Oftentimes the corner drugstore, if you had such a thing, would have a tube tester, and you would take your vacuum tubes, bring them down there, plug them in the socket on there, and the machine would tell you if they're good or not. If they're bad, well, they had a whole selection of vacuum tubes there. Or if Radio Shack was around, they also used to have that. And I'm sure there were other places, maybe even grocery stores back in the day. I'm speculating. You can see all of the nice ventilation slots and holes. It does say 1634 there. Maybe a serial number, I don't know. This knob is to set the clock. If you pull it, it sets the alarm. I don't think it works anymore. Maybe, I'll have to see. So the only thing I know is 1969. Now, it was not unheard of in 1969 to still buy something with vacuum tubes, but they were really on their way out because transistor radios were the thing, and those were rapidly taking over the market. So I really don't have any more information on how old this is, except to say probably early 1960s. Another thing to point out for those of you who are unfamiliar with anything with vacuum tubes, this I think is the only item I still own that has vacuum tubes. This cord, it looks like it unplugs from there, but it doesn't. It's held captive on the inside of this fiberboard backing, and you'll see there's no screws. You just sort of pry it out, and I'm going to do that and open it up so we can just have a peek inside. It's just going to be dirty, dusty old tubes and that, but just to give you a show of what it is. The ventilation was there because these got pretty hot, and when you would turn them on, there was a waiting period while the tubes warmed up. The cord and the way it's mounted in there was designed so that if you open the back of this, there would be no risk of electrical shock, because this would pull out of two pins that are sticking off of something inside. It's not really a circuit board per se, because it's vacuum tubes, but it would sort of just pull off of that. And oftentimes at repair shops you would find these cords, a whole bunch of them laying around, that for radios that people said, or TVs or whatever, that they said, oh, I don't want it repaired after all, just throw it out for me, thanks anyway. So they would pull the clip off and save that, so that way they could work on it with power on, because you can just plug that in. But let me go ahead and open this up, and we'll take a peek inside. It looks like you just sort of push up on that, and I might implore the use of a screwdriver. It's moving. Yeah, this thing is really... There we go. So you kind of wedge it out, and then this part has the plug, so of course it's even more difficult. Let's see if I can just squeeze that past there. Okay. And there. And now I just got to wiggle that off. There it is. And that's it. That's how easy it was to open shit back in the day. So here we go. That's what's inside. There is a circuit board. It's curved. There's vacuum tubes. 2, 3. I'm not sure about, that might be a capacitor, and maybe trimmers of some kind. AM antenna, it looks like that is. And your clock motor, right there, 120 volts. Yeah, there's dust and all kinds of critters and shit. And the original speaker. So everything is here. It's just as it was. There's some information inside. Telecron timer. That's all I can see. Woof. That's a lot of dust. We're going to leave that in there for that vintage smell. Like that. And here you can see the two pins that that plug came off of. And like I said, there's a metal clip that holds it in place and keeps it captive. That's it. That was all the, there were no Torx screws or anything like that. This was how they prevented you from doing that. But again, you just stick a screwdriver in there, pop that out, and whatever. And if anybody ever said, don't fix the radio, I'll buy a new one, or whatever it was, I can guarantee you there were repair shops that would pull tubes, and I don't know if they could check the health of them per se. If they were healthy, they might reuse them in your repair. I'm sure a lot of that shit went on. But if not, they stocked them so they could replace them. I'm sure they were very commonly available. Last service 1969, so here we are in 2021. So we're going to have to see if it works. So I'm going to put the cover back on, go to a different location, only because I'm not going to pick anything up on the radio if that wants to work. But before I do that, let me just show you back on the front. Hard to see because of the knob, but maybe you can see the markings in there. To the left is on, center off, and the right is auto to control the radio. Auto would be your alarm and that. When I did fire this up last time, it took well over a minute and change for it to warm up and really didn't want to work. And the volume control was really crackly. I guess we'll see if the time setter works. Oh, well, the alarm works, but the time does not. Because you push it in for the alarm, but pulling it out and turning it, nothing is happening at all in either direction. So it'll be right twice a day, or you can plug it in at the right time and play that game. All right, let me close it up, which is not as easy as you might think. Bring this to a different location, and we'll give it a run, see if it'll work still. Well, there is some glare coming in from the window, but this is the best I can do during the day. Your plug, it looks a little knackered. It does not have a finger guard, so you can happily blow yourself up if you wanted to while plugging it in. And of course, it's non-polarized. So here we go. Turn the light on. It looks like the clock is working. Second hand is moving. So let's just give that a minute to see if it actually will make it all the way around. Seems to be running pretty smooth. So I'm impressed with that. I'll set the thing to about 10, which would be 1010 winds, New York. Turn the volume up some. And then when it hits 12, I'll try to turn it on. Okay. Now, when I first got this, it took a good 45 seconds before anything would even happen. There's 20 seconds. Oh, wow! It came to life in record time. I'm going to shut that light off. You can see the interference from the LEDs. Ooh!
Functions are streamlined onto one simple screen. Post a job. LinkedIn.com.
Wow. Now there's a lot of noise in it, as you can tell. Probably faulty capacitors or bad tubes. Shouldn't be much more up in this band because they kind of got rid of these. Or no, actually I think they expanded it. I don't remember anymore. That was that station.
Different from most stattings and has low rates of muscle pain.
That's 1010 wins.
You can get the statin for $1 a day. No insurance needed. Stop putting up with statin and call Barley Drug at 800.
If it weren't for the noise in it, this would be an excellent sounding radio. Big speaker in it.
Hi, great time. I know you. I'm Cologuard, a prescription colon cancer screening. On the northbound T, starting at the RFK, on northbound Harlem River Drive, starting at 145th Street, and also down northbound.
That's 880 AM, another news station. A lot less noise on this station.
And the threat of variants in New York City and New Jersey putting a pause on future reopening. Mayor de Blasio is advising caution.
I think it needs to reassess for sure. A good example is with indoor dining.
He doesn't think it should go beyond the current 50% limit. Health Commissioner Dr. Dave Chofsky says the concern is about sharing indoor air.
Those are the things that we need
A little bit better here.
Avoid, particularly when risk certain places.
Some areas of the city are at or beyond a 14% infection rate. Great kills
And
on
I've turned it around.
Richmond Hill, Queens, over 14%.
And maybe you can just see in there little glowing tubes, just barely. I can see two of them glow for sure, maybe even a third. But yeah, you had to wait for them to warm up back in the day. I think you can just see the orange right there. I'm seeing that in the camera, and I'll try to shut it. And it goes away. So, it still works after all these years, this GE clock radio. Can't set the time. The electronics are pretty buggered, but it still works and receives. It should start up a lot faster this time now that the tubes were warm. I kind of always have to turn it and give it like a little shove in that direction. It's 10 seconds. Yeah, it's back.
Traffic tip line at 844-JAM 1010. That's 844-JAM 1010. Traffic sponsored by the...
Whatever this station is comes in pretty good. So, you know, again, we can't have that because of Susan.
AccuWeather Exergy. The forecast, here's meteorologist Brian Thompson.
Well, Susan, it's been a nice afternoon. Temperatures mostly in the 50s right now. We do have some areas that have gotten into the 60s. There is a bit of an onshore flow today, which is...
And that's it. So this was that really, really, really vintage GE vacuum tube clock radio. The last item I have with vacuum tubes. This I used to have, I think, an Admiral TV with vacuum tubes, but I believe that got thrown out. And I used to have a Motorola set also, TV set. Yeah, they used to make TVs, both black and white. And that also worked and also got thrown out when I moved here. I just couldn't take everything. I took a lot, but that was it. Anyway, just cool to know that it still works after, you know, I've owned this since I was 13 years old. So that's 28 years now. So I've owned it for 28 years and it worked. I used to listen to it a lot more when I was younger. But I kind of don't even want to turn it on much anymore just to preserve it. And it's good to know that after all this time, it still works. So thank you very much for watching. Make sure you click like. Make sure you click subscribe. And if you have any idea what the model number of this is, or any further information, I'd love to know. I'd love to unplug it. There we go. There's nothing on the bottom either, except some scribbling that looks like Helen, Hellen. Not really sure. And this crack in it was there when I got it also. It's in very rough shape, but certainly does work. And like I said, the label is totally gone. So I have no idea. So if anybody can make any sense out of that and tell me what this is, I would appreciate it. So that's it. So thanks again and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.